I have my new background as well too. So I've got my text background from our Pitch It event.
I like it.
We did earlier this month, and I got to admit, I kind of like it. I was told my boring plain background that I had was not good enough, so I found this one, and I got to admit, it feels good.
Are you saying my background is plain and boring?
Well, mine was, the mountains and stuff like that. But I was like, I need to change. I didn't really do any new videos this year when I traveled to Cancun. So I decided that I would, let's upgrade to this one. Just change things up a little bit. It looks professional. Now I need to get a chair to match. This chair is starting to wear out, like stuff coming off of it.
So, yeah, I've run into the strange issue of my chair peeking out over the corner of my shoulders. And I found an exercise band that worked off the chroma key, and so sometimes I cap the top of my chair just so it disappears out of the screen. So the crazy things we do for video. So those of you listening don't even know any of this, but we're going through all these shenanigans just to get something.
Anybody wants to watch my Pitch It, the number of things I had to do that seem effortless. Oh my gosh. We're digressing here. Welcome to the average day of Skip and Adam having a chat. This episode actually is a talk about all of the things like Pitch It and the MSP crossover event that happens this Friday. So September 30th. And if you share and if you like the podcast and share it amongst your friends, you have a chance to win $1,000 cash. This isn't like $1,000. In the air. No, we actually just pulled our money and said, hey, we're going to give out $1,000 gift card to whoever wins the lottery. So feel free to check that out. But the whole
so hold on. I think there's a thing there. We're supposed to say, because this is a real deal. We really appreciated what he's done there. So you're supposed to go out and go on LinkedIn and you use the hashtag MSP podcast crossover. There you go.
I'll put it below the video.
Yeah, and do that, and I mean they're anxious to give away the $1,000. So go for it.
Yeah. So tag us, push this, and the whole thing is it's all about collaboration.
Yeah,
and that's what I want to focus on this episode is the fact that with Pitch It, it was all about the collaboration, like talking to these people. Like we did the webinar in August with Vanahai, and that was part of that collaboration. How are we making the community better? What are we doing to grow things? So at the end of this podcast, you'll hear from, I think, Paul Green's he's going to be tagged on the end of this podcast of, his value prop, the best lessons he's ever learned. And we're all about growing the community, making things better, genuinely making things better. Yes, we're all business owners and we want to make money, but we're all people who have a similar mindset where we want to make the world better. Yeah. And not to be cliche, but you make the world better by working together. Not by stomping down the competition, insulting them, telling them how much they're crap, but just by being the best you can. Yeah. And part of the Pitch It competition has been, it drove us to a next level. Like if you look at my pitch, that wouldn't have been possible if my Pitch It contestants weren't driving me to go to the next level. I collaborated with so many businesses to make sure that pitch was as good as it possibly could be. In fact, I got to the point where I was sleeping at night and I was editing my pitch in my dreams.
I hate it when I do that because your changes aren't there in the morning. It's like forgetting to save.
I know. I'm just I wake up in the morning. I'm like, oh my gosh, I just need to give this pitch so I can my brain can shut off.
I used to do spreadsheets like that. I'd get up the next morning I know I created this table. Where is it? And that's in a drive I can't access from here.
Yeah, and so with Paul Green, this collaborative event, it's great. I wasn't able to attend the session recording for the 30th, but Skip was able to do it, and he's got some great stories. You're sitting there, when you're coordinating this many people, Murphy is just he's looking over your shoulder, how can I So Skip, I would say, broke the cardinal rule of technology. Don't implement new technology before you do something.
Don't say that now. I got
it. No, you gotta tell the story.
So the worst part about that whole deal is now you've just reinforced what my wife said. And so now I'm going to get the "I told you so" from my wife. That's my life.
I was playing with fire before the pitch because I was turning my buttons from play pause to play stop just in case I accidentally pushed one, I could stop it.
Oh, yeah.
Like this is like 10 minutes before I gave my pitch. I'm
Oh, yeah.
modifying my stream deck. I am
No,
like
no,
scared to death while doing this, but I'm like, this is the only way I can cover my own butt
yeah.
if I push the wrong button during the session. And then also we found out that my audio didn't go through from OBS into the channel, and so I was like, oh, I just need to reroute my sound. And so I click into OBS to turn it to monitor, and my OBS crashes. I'm like, the level of panic I felt at that moment. And I realized that I cannot click settings in OBS until I restarted OBS. It came up just fine. I was like, okay, cool. Yep. We're all good. Steady there, girl. And like, I've got to collaborate with hundreds of people here in like 20 minutes.
And that's the big deal.
Working on for 3 weeks just crashed because I was dinking around with it.
I guess, when we were talking about this podcast, I guess that's something I really didn't pop to mind. But when you collaborate with people, there is a pressure. And I think we kind of avoid that sometimes because we know the pressure is going to be there. So my pressure, and I'll spare you guys the longer story, but I would go use this app for the podcast. And yes, I'd put in a new camera, and I had these series of problems that just happened right then. I was so queued up. I was so ready. I'd even organized my desk because I wanted to kind of be in a nice, clean, organized environment. We're gonna do this podcast. We're gonna rock it. 1 minute before the appointed time, you can't get in too early on a lot of these. I click it. I'm like, I'm on this, and then just everything falls off the rails. And so I finally get to join those other guys on the podcast. Had a great time. Apparently, for the gray in my beard and as much technology as I've done, I don't know nearly as much about techie lore as I thought to, because there was a game show and I flubbed it pretty poorly. Anyway, you go listen and see how bad I did.
That's right. Watch Skip as he tap dances. I haven't seen the episode yet.
Man. I'm not a great tap dancer either, but anyway, I smiled the whole time.
Oh man, I can fake it till I make it. I'm good. So it'll be fun to watch Skip just like deer in headlights.
Oh, well, but so that was just, I was doing the same thing. I was sweating, I was just, oh my gosh, the frustration and the stress level, was just through the roof there. But we got collaborated, or we were able to collaborate.
Got collaborated.
Collaborated. And the after, of that, coming off of that was just, an equally high feeling to be able to come together to do something. And the output of that is just it's fantastic. It was a great session. I'm really, I haven't seen the final version, so I'm really anxious to see that as well. But you can make so much better things, whatever it is, insert whatever it is you're passionate about. It can be so much better if you collaborate with someone on it.
Yes. Because you're not the only talented person. And we talk about that in our how to do a better QBR, how to do a better strategy session with your clients, is the fact that you're not the only smart person in the room.
Yeah.
If you can stop and collaborate with your people in the room, you will find out that you will come out with a better product. Now, if you think you're the only smart person in the room, then you're going to be the only one talking. It's only going to be your ideas.
Yep.
But if you can stop and say, you know what, let me check my ego. There are other smart people in this room.
Yes.
And they have something valuable to add, and I need to get their input, especially when you're a technical person pitching and you need to hear what does the business need. Yep. If you do that, then you sell more. Always, every time.
Yeah. I've mentioned this more, and I think I've seen. I know I have fell into this trap, and maybe I oversee it now or whatever. But I think I see this in a lot of other technology professionals. We know a lot. We've had to do countless hours of either study or just trial and error our experiences, and we show up and we have a pretty appreciable amount of technical information. And this organization that we're talking to is looking to us for technical expertise. And so there tends to be this expectation that we need to show up with all the answers. That's our job. That's why they're paying us, right? But that's wrong.
Hey, me upgrade. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe so. I don't know. Sometimes we need to show up with our expertise to collaborate with our customers. That's what I think misses out of so many meetings. If you come out of a meeting, you're like, I don't know, did we do anything? Did they get it? Then you're struggling. But if you think about those engagements where the client, sometimes it's because they're kind of techie, all right? And they kind of come down to your level, maybe. Is that a bad way to say that? But they meet you at the techie level and you collaborate. You go back and forth. And those meetings that you come out of that you go, wow, those are really successful. I really think that was a good meeting. Think what happened. It was probably because the other person engaged with you more at some level. You were collaborating. You were doing more together than you in all your brilliance. I mean, you are brilliant, but you're still going to be able to do more if your customers will collaborate with you.
Yeah. And that's that groupthink mentality. And you have to manage those conversations. Like you're still somebody's got to lead the conversation, but the leader is there to make sure people are listened to.
Yeah.
And like, hey, Alice over there hasn't talked. What do you have to say, Alice? Like, you're being really quiet. And she might say, well, I think everything's good. Like, how is this going to affect you? Is there anything that's been bothering you that we can work on? So you're kind of almost like a therapist in the room. And as a technical person, you can do that. You can take classes on how to be a more effective listener or be a better meeting leader. Only means that one person in the room has to have this ability, has to be in control of the meeting. The rest of them are just being coordinated. And that's the thing that they don't tell you about leadership. Leadership isn't about like a natural skill or a certain quality. It's just about who is the one that's going to make sure everybody's listened to in the meeting. And so sometimes it's the CFO who is the leader in the meeting and they're leading it. Yes, they know a lot about their area of expertise, finance. But they're going to make sure that the technical person gets to speak. They're going to make sure that the salesperson gets to speak, and that those opinions are being woven together in what I call a tapestry. I was talking to Skip about that the other day. Like right now with the business, I'm weaving this tapestry that's coming together, and it's not just me. I'm using and talking to and coordinating people from all around the world. Australia, Hungary, UK. United States, Canada, I'm coordinating all this stuff, and their opinions matter. It's not the Adam show. It's I am coordinating this show. Yes. So that collaboration. And I see other people that are trying to do it alone. They are the magic bullet. Yep. They are the person on the front of the book. They are the name that you need to know. And it's like, well, where's the collaboration here?
Yeah,
that's all it is. For me, it's all about humanizing the conversation. It's all about humanizing the MSP. It's all about humanizing everyone so they're actually relating to each other again.
Yeah. And so, let me kind of flip this over a little bit to maybe some of our listeners that aren't, an MSP and you're just running your own organization. I had a great experience just a few years ago. It was a very executive, board level kind of meeting at a company I'm working for. And so there are no customers in the room. All right. This is all internal. And I'm facilitating this meeting. I've got the PowerPoint slide deck and the agenda. That's all on me. But I brought up a couple of things and I kicked off the conversation. And it turned into a nice little debate between two very senior people in this organization across the table. And it went back and forth. And I don't know, not to be too maniacal or anything, but I kind of, would push a few buttons or make a few leading comments, and they weren't arguing, but they were definitely debating. And these are two of very prominent, very, very qualified experts in this company talking about their company back and forth. It wasn't me having the answers. I didn't have the answers. These guys needed to come up with the answers. And so if you don't have that collaboration in your internal meetings as well, you're going to walk away from your staff meetings going, golly, that was a waste of time. I went through my slide deck. Everyone, was just drinking coffee and scrolling on their phone. Yeah, you've got to get your team to engage and collaborate, whether it's with customers or internal. That element of coming together to be better is so, so important.
I will give one trick to having everybody feel like they contributed, or to get a successful collaborative session going, is that everybody in the room needs to feel valued.
Yeah.
And if you make a blanket statement saying, thanks for everyone for coming, I value all of your time, that means jack.
Yep.
I'm telling you right
Absolutely.
now, you
Absolutely.
need to engage the individuals in the room.
Yep.
And you need to make eye contact with them. You need to say, hey, what is your opinion on this? And it may be that they immediately oh wow, they're validated. They have an opinion. They're going to voice this. But look for the outcast in the room who's not saying anything.
Yes.
And if they aren't comfortable speaking in the meeting, then after the meeting, pull them to the side and say, hey, I notice you're kind of quiet during the meeting. Is there anything I can bring to the table? Because sometimes people just aren't good at speaking publicly.
Yeah. And that's okay.
Even in a group of 6. But you can help people feel valued by engaging them in a one-on-one. In a meeting, you should be able to look over and go, hey, we'd like to hear from you. Or, hey, that this is the CFO. And like, hey, what's the financial impact of this project we're pushing forward? Or what's the concerns there? And that's the cue for the CFO to speak up. Or, hey, how is this going to help our sales guys on the road? And that's the cue for the sales lead to say, hey, this is where we are. Or, you kind of go down, ask those questions. And they're really easy to do. They're not hard. But you got to know your customer. You got to know what they care about so that you can give cues to each one of them to have their opinions sent in there. And that's how you make them feel valued. And then you're going to get so much more out of that. I've seen $100,000 projects come out of quick little conversations between a tech and a lineman.
Yeah.
Well, easy, just because they felt valued and they felt like their opinion mattered.
Here's an idea. If you're facilitating a meeting, if you're kind of the one, who called the show, all right, perhaps you've got the agenda. At some point in the meeting, you need to be able to kind of identify and relate to a tennis judge. All right. I mean, you should be, one side to the other. Yeah. Just going back and forth, because the team is collaborating, and you're going to maybe call, that's out of bounds. We're not, that's out of scope. We'll get to that later. Or maybe you come back and go, no, that was right on point. That's something we need to zero in on. But it's not and maybe hopefully this will be the liberating element for some MSPs out there, because I think, again, back to my experience, I felt a lot of anxiousness going into some of these engagements, because while I really got the technical stuff, I knew there was so much more I didn't know. And that's an uneasy place for techie guys, right? But just being able to play the tennis court and watch it go back and forth is pretty amazing. And you get a lot of great information. I mean, you get that's a good point. I need to follow up on that. You're taking notes like crazy, because there's just so much great content that gets floated out when you collaborate, as opposed to when you just sit there and try to think through in your single, train of thought to get all the important things done.
Yeah, you have to include other people's opinions, and that's the power of the Pitch It competition. Like we all fed together. We're all in similar places, and we're all talking to each other about how to make their business better. Where are we getting leads from? What are we doing for marketing? And then, with the Battle Royale coming up this Friday, we're all cross-posting. We're talking about each other's podcasts. We genuinely care about each other's podcasts and want to get that out there. And so, you'll see that. And that way, some of the customers from Paul Green might look over and say, hey, Humanize has got a really great thing they want to say. And that might get some from them. Some of my listeners might say, wow, Paul Green, I never heard of him. He's over in the UK. He's got that great British accent. I want to listen to more of what he has to say on marketing.
Yeah.
And, we're cross-posting and we're getting to know each other. And our base is also going, wow, these are great opinions. And here's an area I did not know about before. And it would not happen without collaboration. Same thing with Pidget. I would have never done a webinar with Bob and Hi because I would have known about them. But as we built relationships, we said, hey, let's do this together. We're doing Cybersecurity Awareness Month anyways coming up. So let's do something together. We talk about cybersecurity. And this is the power there. And if we were just sitting here in our offices trying to figure out how to get our best ROI on each investment, we're not going to go anywhere. We might eke out a couple more dimes. But when we talk to other people, we find dollars, we find opportunities, we find relationships that say, hey, have you thought about doing it this way instead?
Yes.
Have you seen what you could be? I should show my first pitch versus my last pitch.
That would be good. That'd be awesome YouTube video. You need to put that one out there.
One was okay. Pitch 7 or version 8, the live version, is just phenomenal. I hit all my cues, even though my hand was shaking like crazy. But because of the feedback I got from people, I was able to just tweak it in a way that mattered. And whether or not that'll get me to win the Pidget competition, don't know. Or this round, I don't know. But in the end, we got a great message out there. And we got a great tool that we can use to have some media campaigns and that we can use to in our sales meetings, hey, this actually resonated well with people. So we say in a sales meeting, let's clarify the vision.
Oh yeah.
And Skip said earlier, used to be our pitch was our elevator pitch needed a really tall building. And we just cut a large chunk off that building.
Yeah. We just took 20 floors off that building.
It's all due to collaboration. It's all due to the Pidget contestants that helped me. It's all due to Paul Green even helped me, revamp the messaging there and how to make it better. And this Friday, I'm excited about this. I'm excited to see what we do about it. So at the end of every one of these podcasts so far, you've heard from 1, 2, 3 different of the podcasts. At the end of this one, I'm almost certain I'm putting Paul Green. You're going to hear about the event, and you're going to need to attend. You're going to need to hashtag this because it's cool. As far as I know, this is the first MSP podcast crossover event that's ever occurred. Yeah. And we want to encourage more of this in the industry. We want to encourage more people to work together so we can see better future for all IT professionals.
Yep.
Thanks for coming on. I love talking about collaboration. And let's go ahead and queue up the last of the MSP crossover event. What are they? The shorts. So
there you go. See you guys later.
The ultimate MSP podcast crossover.
Hi, I'm Paul Green, and I'm the host of Paul Green's MSP Marketing Podcast, out every Tuesday on your favorite podcast platform. So to celebrate our podcast crossover throughout September, here's the best piece of business advice I've ever been given. Stop selling and start building relationships. Because people hate being sold to, but they do love to buy. But when they do buy, they buy from people. People buy from people. This is possibly the best sales advice you could give to any MSP. Because when someone's thinking of switching from one MSP to another, there's a great deal of fear there. The ordinary business owners and managers that you're selling to, they don't really understand technology, and that creates that fear. And so if you can build a relationship with them, well, once you've built a relationship, you can build trust. And once you've got trust with them, they are dramatically more likely to pick you as their new supplier than someone else. So build relationships with them. Here's how you would do that. The simple method is to build yourself multiple audiences of people and then build a relationship through content marketing. So you would have your email list, you would have your LinkedIn list, maybe even your YouTube following, multiple audiences of people, and then you put out great content to them. And that content needs to be relevant to them. You need to put yourself in their head and in their heart and ask yourself, what are they most interested in that would also demonstrate your authority and expertise? It is not hardcore technology. They don't care about technology in the way that you do, but they do care about growing their business and things just working as they should. So talk about business growth. Talk about how technology empowers them to make the business easier. Those are the things they're interested in, and you can use content to build that authority with them long before they're ready to switch to a new MSP. So that's the best piece of advice that I've ever had. Now, I will be back along with all of my other podcast peers in our special crossover podcast. We're broadcasting that on the 30th of September. And don't forget that you can win $1,000 just by posting about what we're doing on LinkedIn. Go and write something nice about us on LinkedIn and use this hashtag MSP podcast crossover, and that will enter the draw. So write anything you want, MSP podcast crossover. Look forward to seeing you on the 30th of September.